بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين وصلوات الله والسلام على نبينا الأمين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وعلى من تمسك بسنته بإحسان إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله سبحانه وتعالى وخير الهدى هدى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. From the fundamentals that I mentioned earlier, which are from the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he mentioned in the Quran, sunnatullahi fil ladhina khalaw min qabl walan tajida li sunnatillahi tabdila. Allah mentioned the group of people who did wrong and he destroyed them, and he said this is the sunnah of Allah, to destroy those people. This was the sunnah of Allah that he used to deal with the people who went before, and you will never find in the sunnah of Allah any change. In this universe, Allah has rules and regulations. One of the sunnahs of Allah Azza wa Jal is, as you do, it will be done unto you. You do good, Allah Ta'ala will do good by you and for you. In tansurullah yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. If you people help Allah, Allah help you, and He'll establish your feet firmly. وَلَا تَكُونُوا كَالَّذِينَ نَسُوا اللَّهَ فَأَنْسَاهُمْ أَنفُسَهُم. Don't be like the people who forgot about Allah, so He forgot about them. As you do, it's going to be done unto you. That's the sunnah of Allah Azza wa Jalla. We mentioned some other sunnahs earlier. One of the sunnahs of Allah that I want to mention right now, before I even begin, and I hope you brothers continue to take this with you because it's important. One of the sunnahs of Allah Azza wa Jalla is the importance that we should place upon learning the simple and easy forms of knowledge before we learn the more complicated forms of knowledge. People have to learn the basics of the religion before you engage in learning the higher aspects of Al-Islam, learning the Arabic language, learning how to read the Quran properly, how to memorize the Quran, learning the ABCs of Al-Islam before you go and engage in learning sciences like Usulul Fiqh that are a bit more complicated. You're in the madhab, you have to learn the books of the madhab that are simplistic, easy to understand before you learn the more difficult books of the madhab. That's a sunnah of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And that's why we've been commanded in the Quran to take our religion from what Allah described as the Rabbaniyin, those scholars who are Rabbani. The scholar who's a Rabbani, he's the scholar who teaches the people the simple knowledge before he teaches them the big knowledge. That was what Imam Bukhari said. Imam Bukhari, he said that. So with that, I want to bring something to your attention before I even begin my talk, inshallah. Is an incident that transpired with the Prophet ﷺ, collected in the Sunan of Imam Abu Dawood. Rasulullah was on a trip with his companions. They were on a journey and it was hot. So he was sent as a rahmah to the people. He wasn't sent to make things difficult upon the people. So it was midday and he decided to take a rest for himself, but especially for his followers. The sun was beating them in the head. They had a long way to go. So he decided to pitch his camp in this particular place. When everyone stopped at that place, people got in where they fit in. Everyone went to a place that he perceived as being a comfortable place for him, seeking refuge from the sun, the heat of the Arabian sun. The Prophet ﷺ looked out of his tent and he saw the people were all over the place. Some people over there, some people over there, some people here, some people over there. He took his head out and he said to the people, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, radiyallahu anhum ajma'een, mali arakum izin, inna tafarruqukum hadha لمن الشيطان So what is this that I see you people divided amongst yourselves like this? He's over there, he's over there, he's over there. He said, this division and this way of sitting is from the shaitan. The narrator of the hadith is Kunya's Abu Tha'laba al-Khushani. He said, after we heard that statement from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the companions, we never came together in a place where he spoke, except that we all came together and we came close. To the point if you threw a blanket out, the blanket would not hit the floor because it was going to hit the people who were sitting there. So I bring that to your attention, ikhwani, because this is from the etiquettes of Muslims coming together. From the etiquettes of Muslims coming together. Muslim men, when we come to the masjid, when we come to an auditorium, when we go to a lecture, not here only, any and everywhere in the dunya, from the etiquettes that the Prophet taught his companions, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, radiyallahu anhum ajma'een, basic, simple issue of coming together. And in coming together, there are a lot of social and psychological benefits. Now is not the time to explain that. Now is not the time to explain that. But I want to bring to your attention that the way we're sitting right now, Islamically, is not acceptable. It wasn't the way of the Prophet and his companions. The way that we're sitting right now is not the sitting that Allah Azza wa Jalla loves. So if you can, come forward and fill in the blanks and get as close to one another as possible. Before I begin, I just want to make two very quick points. Some of you may be aware of the program, the unjust, problematic program that they call Dispatches, in which they took the words of many of the speakers out of context, and they showed people making statements, and they were out of context, and they made a lot of problems. I was one of the victims of the program. The security forces of this country, they're looking at me. They're trying to figure out, am I a radical? They know that I'm not a radical. They know that I'm not an extremist, inshallah. But the devils from amongst them, because there are people with devils from amongst them, if they're here, they may say, you see the control that he has over them? He controlled them and he made them move from there and they came forward. This man is dangerous. We just want to set the record straight. The reason why the people moved here today is because they believe in Allah in the last day. If they hear that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something in the Quran, they believe in it. If the person brings the evidence and the proof. And if the person brings the proof that the Prophet of Islam sallallahu alaihi wasallam did a particular thing and his companions followed suit, then the Muslim who's worth his weight in salt, he's going to try to imitate that and emulate it to the best of his ability, as we mentioned earlier. What I prohibited you to do, leave it all alone. And what I commanded you to do, do as much of it as you possibly can. We did this because we had the ability to do it. It required something. It required a little bit of effort. You made that effort. But wallahi, ikhwani, you'll get your reward with Allah Azza wa Jal Yawmul Qiyamah. So that's why the people moved. Not because of Abu Usamah. Second thing I want to mention, and the last thing, and I'll get on with the show, inshallah. Don't be of those people who, when the Quran and the Sunnah comes to you, you're one of those people and say, I got my own opinion. You're not going to make me move. Who do you think you are? Someone brings you something from the Quran and the Sunnah. You may fall short of the mark. I may fall short of the mark. But you should be honest and just say that. I'm falling short of the mark. Make dua for me. But don't doubt what Allah has revealed. Don't doubt what the Prophet brought. That in it is benefit for us, whether you realize it or not. And that's the difference between the companions and us. The Prophet was praying, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, with his shoes on, which he usually did. He usually prayed with his shoes on. The companions saw him take his shoes off, And without asking why, without knowing why, they also took their shoes off. After the salah, he looked and he saw that their shoes were off. He said, why did you people take your shoes off? They said, we saw you doing it, so we did it. He said, while I was praying, Jibril came to me and told me that I had najasa on my shoes, so I took it off. From the benefits of that hadith is it goes to show how the companions, they didn't have to know the wisdom or the reason behind why to do this or why to do that. They used to follow him tenaciously. They used to hold on to his sunnah with their molars. They weren't lackadaisical in this regard. It's just the sunnah. They weren't like that. And as a result of that, they were poor. They didn't have a lot of resources. And yet their dawah reached France and Spain, and it spread all over the world. Now we have a lot of money collectively. We have a lot of money, a lot of resources, but we can't even make an Islamic school. We can't even make a masjid that is, everyone's on the same page, and we can't be a force to be reckoned with in the different cities where we are. We're so divided. And it's not because the Muslims are bad. One of the main reasons is because we have a different level of commitment that the companions had. Radiallahu anhum. So the Islam that Allah is going to accept from all of us, Yawm al-Qiyamah. Look beyond my color, look beyond who you think I am, what group I'm with, look beyond that. The Islam that Allah is going to accept from each and every person here, revert, the one who was raised in Islam, is the Islam that emulates and imitates the Islam that those companions were upon. The Islam of the companions. Allah is going to ask you about that Islam. My topic now, Ikhwani, is the topic in regards to knowing Allah, who is your Lord. And that's the topic of seeing Allah, seeing Allah. And this is the topic that one of the great Hanafi scholars of Islam, his name is Ibn Abil Izz, he's Hanafi. He explained the Aqidah book, Aqidah al-Tahawiyah. And Imam al-Tahawi was also Hanafi from Ahlul Hadith. The next man who came and explained the Aqidah of Al-Imam al-Tahawiyah is Al-Imam Ibn Abi Izz. When he came to this issue of believing and seeing Allah, he mentioned in his book, هذه المسألة من أشرف مسائل أصول الدين وأجلها. This issue, he said, a scholar of Islam, this issue of seeing Allah, the belief that we have to have, that people will see Allah Azza wa Jal, is one of the most noble and one of the most illustrious topics in the fundamentals of the religion. From the fundamentals of the religion. Many people, they say, I believe in Allah, but we think believing in Allah is just that, a kalima. I believe in Allah, and that's it. But there's a lot connected to believing in Allah. You have to believe in what He does, what He doesn't do, where He is, where He isn't. What our brother and our companion and our colleague put forth before us, Abu Imran. You have to believe in the names and the attributes of Allah a particular way. He's not born. He doesn't have children. He's not a human being. He has characteristics, unlike the characteristics of the humans and the creation and so forth and so on. It's not enough just to say, I believe in Allah. Because the people of Quraysh, they used to believe in Allah. The Prophet's father, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his name was Abdullah. Before Rasulullah was created, his father's name was Abdullah. There were other people in the Arabian Peninsula, they had that name, Abdullah. They mentioned, Allah mentioned their statement in the Quran, when they were asked about the idols at the Kaaba, why did they have them? And they said that they had those idols, ma yuqarribuna ila Allah illa zulfa. We have these idols because they get us close to Allah. They believed in Allah. But they believed in Allah the wrong way. Believed in Allah the wrong way. So the point is, you just can't say you believe in Allah without believing in the many details that come to us in our religion. And they are many, many. Part of our belief in Allah is believing what He established in the Quran and what the Prophet established in the authentic Sunnah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is that the people will see Allah. Certain people will see Him, and certain people won't see Him. I'm bringing this to your attention, Ikhwani, not as brothers, not as a technical piece of information. But I'm bringing this to your information because it's from the fundamentals of the religion, from the usulul deen, the basics of the religion. Scholars used to put this in their books. There's not a book of hadith, Sahih Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah, and Muwatta of Imam Malik. There's not a book of hadith except that this issue is in there. All of the books of Aqidah, all of them, they bring this issue. And the people of Al-Islam, they believe that certain people will see Allah and so certain people won't see Allah. So I want to bring this to your attention because it's connected to the topic. I want to bring this to your attention so that you'll understand the issue correctly, because from the fundamentals of the religion. And I want to bring this to your attention in the hopes that we'll be encouraged and inspired to do the things to make us of those people who we get an opportunity to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As you'll see, the reward of it is tremendous. Before explaining the issue, there's one very important, vital thing that I have to mention to you at the top of the list. You have to buy into this and get your head around it, and that is, no human being, no Rasul, no Nabi, no human being has the ability to see Allah in this dunya. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Musa, Isa, no human being has been created with the ability to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's impossible. Why is that important? That's important because when the Dajjal comes, he's going to claim that he is Allah. 3 years before the Dajjal comes, the Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the 3rd year before he comes, the sky is going to hold back 1/3 of its rain, and the earth will hold back 1/3 of its vegetation. The 2nd year before he comes, 2/3 will be held back from the sky and the earth. The 3rd year, no rain and no vegetation. He's going to come out and the people are going to be in that condition. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be in a drought. They're going to have problems. People are tricked in their religion with lesser in degree of what the Dajjal has. People sell their religion now for a miserable price, and they don't have a fraction of the tricks that the Dajjal has. They don't have a fraction of it. He will come to the people in that condition. The Prophet told us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he'll go by a group of people, he'll have the ability to travel throughout the earth, and he'll travel by the speed of the rain being pushed by a strong wind. No one can kill the Dajjal. Umar radiallahu anhu, he wanted to kill the boy Ibn Siyad, who they thought was the Dajjal. He said, Ya Rasulullah, let me kill his boy. Rasulullah said, you'll never be able to do it. You'll never be able to do it. Only one person can kill him. Who is that person? That's the only person who can kill him. No one else has the ability. You go to grab him, he'll leave this place and he'll be in Mogadishu in Somalia. That quick. Some people who don't have belief in Allah, they think you guys are crazy. You believe in that kind of stuff? Wallahi, we believe in that. That's our religion. We believe in that. Rasulullah said it, we believe in it. That's what he said. The Dajjal will come to a city, and in that city, some people have iman and they'll disbelieve in him. They'll say, you're the Dajjal. We see the word kafir on your head. You're claiming that you're Allah. You have all of the telltale signs. We know that you're not Dajjal. As a result of that, they're going to have more problems in the place where they live. The rain won't come down, no vegetation. He'll go by another group of people. He'll say, I'm your Lord. They'll say, we believe in you. As a result of that, the rain will come down. The vegetation will come out. Their animals are going to give birth to babies. The animals that are there are going to become fatter. It's a fitna. Shubahat, a fitna. So he told everyone here, if the Dajjal comes, don't go to listen to him and to see and be inquisitive. Go the other way. Because a man would think his religion is strong, but he goes to the Dajjal, and Dajjal will change your religion. He will come to a man who has some doubt. Is he Allah? Is he not Allah? He'll say, if I bring your mother and father alive, will you believe that I'm the Dajjal, that I'm Allah? His mother was dead for 15 years, 20 years. He was close to his mother. He missed his mother, missed his father. The Dajjal would turn into his mother and his father, and they will come to the boy and say, son, ya bunayya, ittabi'hu, innahu rabbuk. Follow him because he's your Lord. And people will follow them.
The Prophet said that his Jannah, with him is the Jannah and the Nar. His Jannah, his reality is his fire, and his Nar, the reality of it is the Jannah. You can't tell. So the point of all of that is, Ad-Dajjal, anyone who comes and he says he's Allah, one of the signs that you know he's a liar is this issue. And that is, in this Hayatud Dunya, you cannot see Allah. You don't have the ability to see Allah. Isa ibn Maryam was seen. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was seen. Ali ibn Abi Talib was seen. Ad-Dajjal will be seen. And therefore you know that's the biggest dalil proof that he is a kadhab. He's a liar. Musa salawatullahi wassalamu alayhi is one of the major prophets and messengers in Islam. One of the 5 major messengers. They're called the Ulul Azm, the main prophets. وَاصْبِرْ كَمَا صَبَرَ أُولِي الْعَزْمِ مِنَ الرُّسُلِ. Be patient, Ya Muhammad, how the major prophets were patient. Noah, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, Muhammad. They are the 5 major prophets who are mentioned over and over, and their stories in detail in the Quran. Musa is known as the Kaleem of Allah. We have to believe that Allah speaks, and He spoke to Musa. وَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ مُوسَى تَكْلِيمًا. Allah spoke to Musa. We believe in that. He was strong. He was very strong physically. He punched the man from the Egyptians with one blow. Not only did he knock him out, but he killed him. He slew him right there. Musa hit the rock with his staff. He put a dent in the rock. The angel of death came to Musa to take his life in the form of a man. Musa punched him in his eye and knocked his eye out. Musa was strong. All of those hadith, Bukhari and Muslim. Musa, when he went to the mountain, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Allah said in the Quran, وَلَمَّا جَاءَ مُوسَى لِمِيقَاتِنَا كَلَّمَهُ وَكَلَّمَهُ رَبُّهُ قَالَ رَبِّ أَرِنِي أَنظُرْ إِلَيْكَ قَالَ لَن تَرَانِي وَلَكِنْ انظُرْ إِلَى الْجَبَلِ إِنِ اسْتَقَرَّ مَكَانَهُ فَسَوْفَ تَرَانِي. And remember when Musa came to our meeting place and your Lord spoke to him. Musa said, oh my, give me the ability to look at you. Allah said, you will never be able to see me. But look at the mountain. If the mountain remains in its place, then you'll be able to see me. فَلَمَّا تَجَلَّى رَبُّهُ لِلْجَبَلِ جَعَلَهُ دَكَّ وَسَعِقَ مُوسَى. When Allah manifested himself to the mountain, he made the mountain crumble. Allah manifested something of his light to the mountain. It crumbled and rent asunder and it became dust. And as a result of that, Musa fell unconscious because he couldn't handle it. The Prophet said the first person who will be raised up Yawm al-Qiyamah, the angel will blow the horn. Everyone will lose consciousness. Everyone who's living at that time. Malaika, everyone. And then he'll blow the horn again. Rasulullah said, I will be the first one who will wake up to come out of that situation. And when I come through, I'll see Musa standing there holding on to the throne of Allah. And I don't know, was he awakened before me or was he exempted because of what happened on that day? The Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah manifested, he did his finger like this, to the mountain, the tip of his pinky, the tip of the pinky, the tip, this part. And Rasulullah went like that. In believing in Allah, Allah has hands, Allah has fingers, but his hands, his fingers, not like the creation. You can't have a problem with that. That's what the hadith said. We don't know how it is. He manifested this much and it caused the mountain to rent asunder. Musa fell out. The point is, a Dajjal can't be Allah because you will be able to see him. You will be able to see him. But Yawm al-Qiyamah, the people will be able to see Allah. Yawm al-Qiyamah, the believers will be able to see Allah. And not only will they be able to see Allah, but it's something connected to that that we want to bring to your attention. So the first point, ikhwani, in this dunya, anyone who comes and claims that they are Allah, or if it is claimed to you, as some of our young people are told from the Asian community, and other than that, certain individuals are Allah reincarnated. Allah reincarnated. No one can see Allah. No one's created from the nur of Allah. No one knows all of the knowledge of Allah. Allah doesn't have sons, doesn't have daughters, none of that. All of that is from what the Kuffar of Quraysh used to believe, that the angels were the daughters of Allah. Allah married the jinn, And between the jinn and Allah came the angels, the daughters of Allah. As it relates to Yawm al-Qiyamah, people will be able to see Allah who believe in Allah. As he mentioned in the Quran in Surah Qaf, Allah Ta'ala mentioned, وَمَا يَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا إِن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. Or he mentioned in the Quran, وُجُوهٌ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاظِرَةٌ إِلَى رَبِّهَا نَاظِرَةٌ. And that day, the faces of the believers will be illuminated. They will have light on them. The light will be a result of their iman. The light will be as a result of the wudu that they used to make. The light will be as a result of the prayers, the salat that they used to do. Wajib salat and other than that. On that day, their faces will be illuminated and they'll be looking at their Lord. They will be looking at their Lord, able to see him. He subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in another ayat of the Quran, لَهُمْ مَا يَشَاءُونَ فِيهَا وَلَدَيْنَا مَزِيدٌ. In Surah Qaf, he said that the people in the Jannah, they will have whatever they want in the Jannah, and we have a mazid. I think this word is Urdu word. It's found its way into the language of most Muslims. Ziyada, Yazid. They will get whatever they want in the Jannah, and we also have a mazid, which means an addition. Whatever they want in Jannah, they'll get it, and they'll get something in addition to that. Ali ibn Abi Talib, Anas ibn Malik, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, they said that this addition is the ability to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Yawm al-Qiyamah. Another ayat from Surah Yunus. Allah ta'ala said about the believers, لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى وَالزِّيَادَةِ. For those people who believe, they will get al-husna and they will get the ziyada. The Prophet, after reading this, he said a tremendous hadith. This hadith, which has been collected by the Imam Muslim, قال صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا دخل أهل الجنة الجنة وأهل النار النار نادى مناد يا أهل الجنة أن لكم عند الله موعدا ويريد أن ينجزكموه قالوا وما هو ألم يثقل موازيننا ويبيض وجوهنا ويدخلنا الجنة ويجرنا من النار ثم يكشف عن الحجاب فينظرون فما أعطاه شيء أحب إليهم من النظر إليه وهي الزيادة. Prophet, after reading this ayat in Surah Yunus, those people who believe, they will get the husna. Al-husna is Jannah. They will be in the Jannah. And they will get the ziyada, the addition. After reading that, the Prophet said, Yawm al-Qiyamah, when the people of Al-Jannah go into the Jannah, and the people of the hellfire go into the hellfire, a caller will call out, and he will say, O people of the Jannah, you have a promise with your Lord that he wants to fulfill and he wants to give it to you. The people of the Jannah will say, and what's that promise? We have everything that we want. Didn't Allah make our scales heavy on this day? Something we have to believe in, the scales. That your deeds will be put in the scales. Didn't Allah illuminate our faces and cause our faces to be white on this day? Because of iman, because of salah, because of wudu, because of the truthfulness that a person had with Allah. Didn't Allah put us in the Jannah and save us from the hellfire? At that point, Allah Ta'ala will remove the hijab. He will remove the hijab that is between him and them. And that would be the greatest reward that Allah Ta'ala has given to the people of Al-Jannah. And then the Prophet said, and that is the ziyada of the ayat in Surah Yunus. So when the people go to the Jannah, like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he will be in the Jannah al-Firdaus, best part of the Jannah, highest level of the Jannah, and it's possible that anyone here can be from the people who are close to him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anyone sitting here. We have to get out of our heads this concept of there are some special people. The Malvi Sahib, he's different and he has some special abilities. So if someone gets sick, I have to go to the Imam or the Malvi Sahib and he has to read on me and do ruqya. You could do ruqya on your own self. Your mother can do ruqya on you. That man may be in the hellfire and you may be in the Jannah al-Firdaus. Only Allah knows. Nothing wrong with having a good opinion about people, but this thing about he's a special person and I'm not that good, no, you can do ruqya yourself. He told us, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, ana wa kafir yatim kahatini fil jannah. I, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, will be with the one who takes care of an orphan, and will be like this in the Jannah. So if you take care of an orphan, your sister's child died, the father of a child dies who's connected to you. He's an orphan. If he loses his father and he's an infant, he's small. You take that child and you take custody of him and you raise him up. You'll be like that with the Prophet ﷺ in Jannah. Although you know your situation. You may not be the most righteous person. So anyone can be close to him if Allah Ta'ala gives him that blessing. The point here is that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he'll get all of those things in Jannah. And yet, the greatest reward of a Jannah, the greatest reward is when Allah Ta'ala removes the hijab, the partition, the curtain that exists between him and his creation. That's the greatest reward of a Jannah. I have to take a few minutes out, Ikhwani, and share with you some information about this hijab. This hijab. Prophet told us about the hijab of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لو كشف عن حجابه لأحرقت سبحات وجهه ما انتهى إليه بصره من خلقه. If Allah were to remove the hijab that exists between him and his creation, the countenance and the splendor of his face, it would destroy and annihilate everything that his eyes can see. The sight of Allah is infinite. Allah sees everything. He sees the black ant crawling down the black rock in the middle of a black cave. He sees it and he hears it. Because he sees and he hears in a way that fits his majesty. Therefore, if he can see that ant, he can hear and he can see when we're making ghiba. He can see and he can hear when a person is carrying on illicit relationships. You may go and you may buy the liquor from the non-Muslim liquor store because the guy there, he doesn't know you. Allah sees, although the people don't see you. Allah sees and hears everything. So for as far as his sight goes, if he were to remove that hijab, everything where he can see will be destroyed and annihilated. So the hijab of Allah is a rahmah to us. That's part of what we have to believe. That's what the Prophet says, Sahih Muslim, that if he were to remove the hijab, then everything will be burnt up in this dunya. The dunya doesn't have the ability to carry the weight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, the splendor of the countenance of his face. Doesn't have the ability. Allah never spoke to a human being except behind that hijab. He said in the Quran, وَمَا كَانَ لِبَشَرٍ أَن يُكَلِّمَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا وَحْيًا أَوْ مِنْ وَرَاءِ hijab. It is not acceptable, it is not possible for Allah to speak to any human being except through revelation and from behind a hijab, except one person. 50 pounds for the person who knows that one person. Who was the one person that Allah Ta'ala spoke to and there was no hijab between him and Allah? Who knows? No one, Ummatul Islam, not a single person. I can't blame you, I can't blame you. If you don't know, don't guess. That's our religion. If you don't know, say Allahu Alam. There's nothing wrong with that. Problem is when people don't know and they start guessing and talking. There's a companion, his name is Jabir ibn Abdullah. He's one of the 6 companions who narrated the majority of the hadith. Abu Huraira, Abdullah ibn Umar, Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Zubair, Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, Aisha, Jabir ibn Abdullah. He was walking one day and he was sad. Rasulullah said, "What's the matter, Jabir?" He said, "Ya Rasulullah, my father was killed. He was killed in the battle of Uhud. He got the shahada. He became a person who was shaheed." Rasulullah said, "Should I not tell you of what transpired and how your father met Allah?" He said, "Tell me." Rasulullah told him ﷺ that there was never a human being except that Allah spoke to him from behind a hijab. Every human being, from Adam to every human being. He said, except your father. Allah spoke to your father directly. And Allah said to your father, wish, hope
whatever you want, tell me, what is it that you want? Your father, Abdullah, said, oh Allah, what do you people think he said? We have one brother raise his hand. Before we asked that brother what he said, he didn't say, oh Allah, send me back, let me get the collection, Michael Jackson's collection of all of the music that he had. Let me get all of the money Michael Jackson had, or they put the debt on the side. He still has $1 billion worth of property and other stuff. He didn't say, let me get a plasma TV, the latest plasma TV. Let me fix up my kitchen. Let me get the nicest car. He didn't say anything like that. What did he say, brother? He said, oh Allah, all I want is that you give me the chance to go back to the life, back to the dunya, so that I can be killed again for your cause. Which shows the importance of the shahada in al-Islam, the importance of jihad in al-Islam, the correct jihad, the jihad of Islam, not the fasad and fitna that we see going on in this country and other than this country. The jihad of Islam. I just want to go back so I could come back, get killed, and get this reward again. Allah said, has it not reached you that I have written and legislated, anyone who leaves it is not going back? Once you leave, that's it. Now is the time to do the works while you're living, while you're young, while you're here. Now is the time to fast, to pray, to make tawbah. Now is the time. Because once you check out, then that's it. No more opportunity. No one is coming back. No one. It doesn't happen. Isa ibn Maryam, special situation. He didn't die. Ma qataluhu wa ma salabuhu. They didn't kill him, nor did they crucify him. So he's not dead. Allah said, don't you know I legislated that anyone who leaves it is not going back? He said, ask for something else. He said, then I ask of you, my Lord, that you inform the people who are still there in the Jannah, let them know of the reward that I'm receiving as a shaheed. So Allah Ta'ala said, okay. He agreed. And then he revealed the ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah. لا تحسبن الذين قتلوا في سبيل الله أموات بل أحياء عند ربهم يرزقون. عند ربهم يرزقون. Don't think and don't see and don't consider those people who were killed in the cause of Allah. Don't see them as being dead. They are living and they're being provided for by their Lord. They're living in the barzakh. They're living in the barzakh. You're not living the life where you can go and make dua to them or to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but they live in a special life that Allah knows. So that's the hijab, ikhwani, that exists between the human beings and between Allah. When you die and you stand before Allah, you still won't get to see Him, but that hijab is an issue. The Prophet says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Ma minkum min ahadin illa sayukallimuhu rabbuhu yawm al-qiyamati laysa baynahu wa baynahu turjuman." وَلَا يَحْجَبُهُ حِجَابٌ. There's not a single one from amongst you except that you're going to stand and you're going to talk directly to your Lord and He's going to speak to you. And there won't be any translator for you and Him. And there won't be any hijab. Won't be any hijab. You won't be able to hide behind anything. You won't be able to go anywhere. As a matter of fact, there's a plane that people will speak to Allah on, and that plane is called the plane of Yawm al-Qiyamah. It's a flat plane, no mountains, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. That's the hijab. Back to our issue, ikhwani. Allah never, ever, ever removed the hijab where someone saw him in the dunya. But in the hereafter, the hijab will be removed and it's going to be the greatest blessing that the people saw. It's the greatest ni'mah for the people in the Jannah. But for the non-Muslims, the one who died as a munafiq, the one who died on other than al-Islam, apostated, left the religion, he made shirk with Allah and he died on shirk. He said he believed in Allah. He said that. But he believed and he thought that Ghulam Ahmed, Mirza Ghulam Ahmed, he thought he was Allah reincarnated. He dies. He didn't die on Islam. Qadiani, he didn't die on Islam. The person with knowledge, he believes that Aisha, she committed zina. He believes that Ali, Allah reincarnated, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, all of the companions apostated. he knows what that means, and he dies believing that, he won't see Allah Azza wa Jalla Yawm al-Qiyamah, because those beliefs run counter to the Quran and the Sunnah. They're not true. They're a rejection of the Quran and the Sunnah. So those people who die as non-Muslims, they won't see Allah. As Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, كَلَّا بَلْ رَانَ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ مَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ كَلَّا إِنَّهُمْ عَنْ رَبِّهِمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ لَمَحْجُوبُونَ. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in the Quran that the people who do sins and they make mistakes, non-Muslims, their heart becomes black and black and black and black and black. It continues to become totally black as a result of what they used to do. And verily, Yawm al-Qiyamah, on that day, they're going to have a hijab between them and Allah. They won't get the chance to see Allah Yawm al-Qiyamah. And this brings us to the other issue. The time is flying. Another issue, Ikhwani, one thing that we reject and we don't accept, and I see a lot of Asian brothers in the audience, and these things have crept into the culture and the Islam of the Asians. A lot of time, our forefathers have an effect and they make an impact on the way we practice Islam. People in Africa, where I come from, our forefathers used to worship all kind of nonsense. You go to different parts of Africa, you'll find the residuals of what my forefathers used to do in the practice of some of the Africans in Mali, Senegal, other than that. Asians, forefathers were from India. We have a lot of things, residuals. Not everybody, but it happens. Anyway, the point that I want to make is going overboard in people is not acceptable. Like going overboard with the Prophet ﷺ. There's an issue of whether or not the Messenger of Allah saw Allah or not. There are some indications that show that he did see Allah. There are indications that he did see Allah, but we have to understand those indications in light of the totality of the Quran and the Sunnah. And what was collected by Imam Muslim, our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, and she's from the awliya of Allah, she will be in the best part of Jannah with her husband, the Rasul of al-Islam, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no doubt. She was sitting there with one of her students from the Tabi'een. His name is Masruq, from the tremendous scholars of the Tabi'een. And she said to him, whoever claims that Muhammad saw his Lord, he has made a big lie. He made a big lie. Whoever claimed that and believes that Muhammad saw Allah, he has made a big lie. Because she heard that Abdullah ibn Abbas was telling the people that Rasulullah saw Allah. Ikhwani. If you look in fiqh, how to pray, how to read, this, that, there's ikhtilaf between the scholars, between the companions. There's some differences of opinion, and we have to learn how to differ with one another. But in the Aqidah of al-Islam, there are only 3 or 4 issues that the companions had ikhtilaf in. Only 3 or 4. They differed. Will the dead person be punished because of his relatives who are screaming and crying? Some say yes, some say no. They had a difference in the Dajjal. Who was it? Some of them said that that boy Ibn Sayyad was Dajjal. Some said no, he wasn't the Dajjal. Some thought, even after the death of Rasulullah, this boy is the Dajjal. Some of them used to say, Wallahi, he's the Dajjal. They had ikhtilaf in that. The companions had a difference, ikhtilaf, in this issue. Did the Prophet see Allah or not? You're not going to see a lot of ikhtilaf. Did Allah have a hand? Does Allah come down? Does Allah speak? Does Allah laugh? Is Allah shy? They didn't have that ikhtilaf. These 3 issues, 3 or 4 issues, and that's it in Aqidah. Aisha heard Abdullah bin Abbas was saying, Rasulullah saw Allah. She said, my hair is standing up on the ends. Someone will say that. Anyone who says that the Prophet saw Allah, he has made a tremendous lie. Masruq was there. He said, O mother of the believers, Ya al-Mu'mineen, take it easy. Take it easy. She's the sheikh. She's the scholar. She's the mother. When he perceived the sheikh, the teacher, the scholar saying something incorrect, he had etiquette, he had respect, but he wanted to bring her attention to something. He said, take it easy. Allah said in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ بِالْأُفُقِ الْمُبِينِ. Verily he saw him in the clear horizon.
And Allah also said, Ya al-Mu'mineen, with respect to the shaykh, to the scholar, to the mother, to the teacher. Allah also said in the Quran in Surah Al-Najm, وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ نَزْلَةً أُخْرَى عند السدرة الأولى عند السدرة المنتهى. He saw him another time at the lotus tree. Aisha said, no, you take it easy. The Prophet told me, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Sahih Muslim, the Prophet told me that he saw Jibril, that these two ayahs are referring to Jibril, and that he saw Jibril only 2 times in his real way. And it was on these 2 times. Jibril came to him at this time with the 600 wings, and he filled up the distance between the horizon. So Aisha understood that the ayat was referring that Rasulullah saw Jibril, and the ayat is not referring to the fact that the Prophet saw Allah. The ayats are referring to Jibril. But it is, as I mentioned, a point of differences, and that is because the Prophet came out to his companions after he did the Isra wal Mi'raj, when he was taken from Mecca to Bayt al-Maqdis. From Bayt al-Maqdis, he went to the 7th heaven, and then he met with Allah. When he came back, they said, what did you see? He said, Ra'aytu Rabbi al-Bariha. I saw my Lord yesterday. They said, how would he look? How did he look? He said, Nurun anna ara. It was light. How can I see? That's an authentic hadith. He said, I saw my Lord yesterday. So how do we understand the issue, Ikhwani? The Prophet ﷺ was living. He didn't see Allah with the naked eye. He saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his heart, as there are 2 types of seeing in Islam. There's the seeing of the eyes, and there's the seeing of the heart. Allah Ta'ala's Prophet ﷺ saw Allah Azza wa Jal with his heart. Allah gave him that ability, and he didn't see the reality or the essence of the way Allah Azza wa Jal is. But Yawm al-Qiyamah, he, more than anyone else, will get the ability to see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In regards to this issue and every other issue, I encourage you brothers to understand, and you sisters as well, that you're not responsible, and it may not be your job to come here one day and to give a talk to somebody, or to give the Friday khutbah. Maybe Allah didn't make that obligatory upon you, and maybe that's not something you're even thinking about. But one thing you have to do is, we all have to come to learn our religion, the basics of the religion. And what I mean by the basics of the religion here are the issues that are connected to the usul of the religion, things that are connected to our aqidah. So that Yawm al-Qiyamah, or before that, in the grave, when the person is asked, who is your Lord? He can answer correctly. He's not like the people of Quraysh who made crazy statements about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They believed in Allah. But yet, Yawm al-Qiyamah, they're going to come and say, I don't know who my Lord is, because they made shirk with Allah. They called on other than Allah. They thought that they were intercessors other than Allah. They thought that people have powers and abilities other than Allah. No one has power. No one has ability except Allah. Even Rasulullah, for all of his level, for all of how he is, he doesn't have any power. And we've been taught this in so many lessons of the Quran and the Sunnah. He, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the battle of Badr, the people hit him in his tooth and knocked his tooth out. They hit him in his head. They split his head. He said, كَيْفَ يُفْلِحُ قَوْمٌ شَجُّوا نَبِيَّهُمْ. How can a group of people ever be successful? They broke their prophet's head. They broke the prophet's head. The Salatul Fajr the next day, in the Salat, he started making the qunut, in which he made dua against the leaders of Quraysh. He was asking Allah to curse some of the people of Quraysh who broke his head and broke his tooth. Allah Ta'ala revealed the ayah of the Quran, لَيْسَ لَكَ مِنَ الْأَمْرِ شَيْءٍ أَوْ يَتُوبَ عَلَيْهِمْ أَوْ يُعَذِّبَهُمْ. You don't have anything to do with it, Muhammad, whether Allah forgives them or Allah guides them or punishes them. You don't have anything to do with it. Those people that he was making dua against, Allah guided those 4 men to al-Islam, and they became companions. They became companions. So if the Prophet ﷺ, concerning his own situation, he doesn't know who's going to become a Muslim if Allah doesn't tell him. So why do we go overboard, attribute to him what he doesn't deserve? Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. Laysa alayka hudahum, walakin Allah yahdi man yasha.
You can't guide those who you want to guide, Ya Muhammad, but Allah guides those who He wills to guide. That ayah was revealed because of his uncle, Abu Talib. Rasulullah couldn't guide his uncle to Islam. He didn't have the ability. And he's the closest man to him and helped him out a lot. So it's not acceptable, ikhwani, for a person to claim that he's a Muslim and to remain ignorant about the fundamentals of the religion that go against. We have ideas that go against the fundamental principles of our religion and the aqidah of the theology and the aqidah of al-Islam, the ideology of what the Quran and the Sunnah has established. So I encourage you, encourage the women, encourage your children. We have to take the time out to come to learn the religion of al-Islam to the best of our ability, put a lot of focus and a lot of emphasis on the basics of the religion, the ideology, who Allah is and who Allah isn't, what He does and what He doesn't do, all of those things that we have to believe in, connected to Yawmul Qiyamah, all of those things that we have to believe in, connected to what is in the unseen. And there are a lot. If you leave yourself and you don't study, and you don't learn at all, then what'll happen is you may become one of those people who he's worshiping Allah and he's just worshiping Allah just based upon his whims. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ. He's not really worshiping Allah the correct way, on the whim only. The Dajjal comes to him and finds it easy to blow him off of the Sirat al-Mustaqim. The Dajjal comes to him and he doesn't know. It's impossible for me to see Allah. I don't care how many tricks you have. I don't care how many tricks you have up your sleeve. You bring anybody back to life. I know you can't be Allah, because Allah can't be seen in this hayat of the dunya. This is my reminder and what I wanted to present here to you brothers and sisters here today. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from us and from you, to put it in the mizan of the hasanat of all of you, as well as the brothers who have organized this particular seminar. And we call you and encourage you brothers here in this area and other than this area to continue to support the brothers at the Nasiha program, this foundation, as well as the other local masjids that are calling the people to the importance of coming to learn the unadulterated sunnah and way of understanding and practicing the religion of al-Islam.